So everybody should be working on this class opener right here, okay? Again, you don't wait for me to get started. You just, once you get in class, you don't even wait for the bell. If you see a class opener, start copying it down. And then after you guys finish that up, we're going to take a look at our quizzes that we got back. And we're going to talk about test corrections and how to bump up your grade. So in case you guys are wondering how you did, normally we're going to have quizzes on Fridays. And as you walk in on Monday, you could take a look at the Super Students wall. So this is our Super Students wall, and if your name is up here, you either got an A or better, right? Okay, so if your name's up there, you have an A or better. Now, if you're wondering what's the difference between the bold print and the regular print, the bold print are those that got 100% or better. I'm talking A plus perfect, right? Now, on this particular quiz, not on all quizzes, but on this particular quiz, this very first quiz, which was on section 0.2, 0.3, we had the opportunity of an extra credit question, so it was possible to get 103%, okay? So if it's bold, you got 100 or maybe 103%. If it's not bold, you might have gotten a 97, a 90, 93, maybe a 90, but it's still an A, right? Okay, so let's first go through the class opener real quick, and then we'll continue talking about quizzes. So on number one, we can't really answer that just with a simple number. It says, in your own words, describe a rational number. Could anybody describe a rational number to me?
Any number that makes sense.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other volunteer to give me their explanation of rational number? That's totally true, a number that makes sense, okay, but something else. Is there anybody else that used something else? Here we go. Let me see.
A number that's a fraction or decimal.
Perfect. A number that's a fraction or decimal. Anybody else? Important detail with that. What was that? What was that? Come on. You said, okay. So rational numbers, yeah, decimals, fractions, they make sense. They're not crazy, right? They don't continue forever. Okay, let's move on to number two. What is... Well, first of all, are we thinking of money on number two, or are we multiplying on number two? Multiplying, because there's no sign between the -2 and the parenthesis. So we are multiplying, and we know that 2 times 3 is 6, but the question is it positive or is it negative?
Positive. Negative.
It is negative, right? And once again, the only way you're going to get a positive when you're multiplying, remember, a negative times a negative equals a positive, right? That's the only way you're going to get positive 6, if it's a -2 times a -3. Or... if you go back to the third grade, 2 times 3 is 6. That's another way of getting positive 6. But if the signs are different, this is a negative, that's a positive, the answer will be negative. So -6 is your answer right there. Or you could go back to the little storyline situation. If a bad thing happens to a good person, that's bad, right? Are we thinking of money on number 3? Yes, because there's a sign between the terms. Over here, no sign between the terms. Right here, there is a sign between the terms. So this means what? I have 2 or I owe 2? I owe 2. How about this? I owe. So I owe somebody $2. I owe somebody else $3. I owe a lot of money. How much do I owe? -5. I owe a total of $5. Okay, now over here, are we thinking of money? No. What is a negative times a negative? Positive. So the answer is 6. Positive 6. You don't have to put the plus sign. Are we thinking of money here? Yeah, because there's a sign between it. But even before thinking of money, what do I need to do? Change in the plus, right? So I really have a plus right there. And now I could think of money. I owe somebody $2. I have $3. Could I pay him off? Yeah, I could pay him off. I'll even have money left over. How much do I have left over? 1. And since it's left over, that's positive 1. Okay. Right here, we're thinking of money? No. We are multiplying, correct? So is this going to be a positive 6 or a negative 6? Negative 6. That's right. The only way we get positive is if we have a negative times a negative equals a positive. Or positive times positive equals positive. And last but not least, number 7. What do we need to do even before thinking of money right there? Change the signs. So we have plus, and now we could think of money. I owe somebody $3. I have $2. Could I pay them off?
No.
I cannot pay them off. I'm still going to owe them $1. Okay, so I hope We all understand that. Now let's move on to talk about the test corrections or quiz corrections in this case. And let's start by saying that when you correct your quiz or test, I will go back and give you a 5% extra credit boost. So your 80% could go up to an 85%. Your 95% could go up to 100%. Now, there are a couple of details though. Let's say you got a 97% and you correct that one question. I'm not going to make it 102%. I'm only going to bump up max 100. So if you got a 97% and you do the corrections on that one question, it'll bump you up to 100%, right? So either way, it's a good thing. You could correct it, you'll get a boost. Now let's talk about how you correct it. Well, first of all, you get your quiz and you rewrite all the questions that you missed in your notebook and title the page. So in your notebook, what's the title going to be? On this particular quiz that we're going to get back in a couple of minutes, you're going to write quiz section 0.2, 0.3 corrections. You're going to put that at the top of your page. And then you're going to copy every single question you got wrong and you're going to correct it, right? But let's talk about how you're actually going to correct it. Well, first of all, you need to have the correct work shown. Now, on this first quiz, we didn't have much work to do. But later on in math, there's going to be multiple steps involved, right? You're going to be adding this, you're going to be subtracting this, and then you're going to be this and that. So you're actually going to have to show all the correct work. On this one, it's pretty straightforward. 1/2 is rational. -3 is an integer. Pretty straightforward on this quiz. But whenever you have work to show, please show the correct work. Okay, now here's the more important detail. You must have a written explanation of how you do it correctly. Now, what do I mean by that? Kind of like if you were trying to explain it to a new student that missed the lesson. So you want to, in words, explain how you do it. So like, here's an example over here, and this was from the quiz. I just picked a random quiz out from the stack, and I saw somebody missed question 17. And it was a square root of 50, and they originally put, let me show their original. The square root of 50, they put 7.5, which was incorrect. Okay, the correct answer is 7.1. So right there, you copied the question over 17 square root of 50. You wrote down the correct answer. Now all you need is an explanation, kind of like if you're teaching somebody. Okay, so what's the explanation? First, I must make a list of perfect square numbers to help me. Right? 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 4, 16. 5 times 5, 6 times 6, 7 times 7, 8 times 8, 9 times 9. And we know that the list continues, but I just stopped right there. Then I would see that the square root of 50 is a bit more than the square root of 49. So if I were to think of all these numbers as square roots, square root of 4 is 2, square root of 9 is 3, square root of 16, square root of 25, square root of 36, square root of 49. I know that the square root of 50 is a little bit more than the square root of 49. And what is the square root of 49? It's 7. So as you read the explanation here, so my answer must be a little bit more than 7. Thus, the square root of 50 is about 7.1. So this is a good example of what I expect on corrections. You copy the question over in your notebook where it's titled test corrections or quiz corrections. You write the correct answer, and you have to write a written explanation as if you were teaching it to somebody for the first time. Because when you're able to teach something, that's when you truly master it, right? So that's what I want on corrections. I want an explanation on how to do it correctly. And if you do the corrections and you show it to me, I'll go back and put a 5% boost on your grade. One more little detail. You must complete it within 1 week. Once I give you the okay, let me first start by putting a period right here. You must complete within 1 week, period, instead of comma. Okay? Now, why is that? Because I don't want people at the end of the semester saying, oh, look, I have all these quizzes corrected. That's no good, right? The whole purpose of correcting is for you to realize and understand your mistake and not do it again. So you want to correct it as soon as possible. That's why I'm only going to give a 1 week window. Okay? What else? Once I give you extra credit for your corrections, you'll be eligible for a retake. Happy face, right? So like, let's say you got an F Let's say you got a horrible score. Let's say you missed every single question on this quiz. Well, first of all, what's the lowest grade I'll give you? 50. Okay, so you got a 50%. And if you go through and correct your mistakes with an explanation, I'll bump it up to a 55, and that's better than a 50. But more importantly, you'll be eligible for a retake. So all you got to do is tell me, hey, Salgado, I understand this now. Look at my corrections. When can I retake it? So if you want to retake it, well, let's make arrangements. How about you stay after school Tuesday, and then you can retake it. And whatever score you get, I'll replace your grade. Okay. Now on the syllabus, I did mention that the max score on a retake is 79.9, which is a B minus. But you know, it's the beginning of the year. For the first month or so, I'll let you retake it and replace it with whatever you get. So if you get an A on it, I'll go back and change it to an A. All right. Get an A plus, I'll go back and change it to an A plus. Sound great? Okay. And let's be honest here, guys. The only way you're gonna flunk this class is if you don't care. Let me repeat that. The only way you're going to flunk this class is if you do not care. If you're like, whatever, I don't care. But yeah, you're going to flunk. But if you actually care and you ask me questions and I show you how to correct it and you retake it, you're going to get a better grade. You're going to pass the class. Okay? So let's put some effort into this. So I'm going to stop my video here. I'm going to hand back the quizzes so you guys could actually check out what you got.